Okay, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Hopefully you're having a good Friday wherever you are. It is going to be a fun Friday. We're looking forward to it, and hopefully you are as well. Yeah, it's good times. Good times. Scary times. Halloween is right around the corner. And so now we're live on everywhere. It's true. I saw Mr. Producer's very scary costume, and I told him to take the mask off. And do you know what he said? He told me it wasn't a mask. I'm sorry, Mr. Producer. It was, I tried. It was pretty scary to me. But nonetheless, he is wearing the Mr. Producer hat. That's what he's wearing. Okay, before we get into the presentation, hello, I'm Bishop Long, and I appreciate you being here on this beautiful Friday. But before we do this, Mr. Producer, why don't you roll that footage?
Fans of Bishop James Long, the renowned exorcist and paranormal expert on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Now you can carry his wisdom with you. Our Bishop James Long collection features blessed apparel such as St. Benedict hats and tees, as well as home items to protect and inspire. Elevate your spiritual journey. Go to kgradb.com/shop and discover the Bishop James Long merch today.
That's the way it is. Okay, everybody. So let me just, can you imagine? All right, if you want to go to my website, let's do this. I want everyone to go to kgradb.com. Again, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Click on the shop link. And when you do that, click on my name, Bishop James Long. And it will take you to the show page. Here's why I want you to do this. First of all, there's some great products there, but 100% of the profits that would go to me, we are donating to the MKS Kids Foundation. They're an orphanage that we are partnering with, that they're located in Uganda. They're doing beautiful, beautiful work. And so I've had the opportunity to speak to the director there many times. He's a young man that was actually homeless himself in Uganda. And he wants to, give back and help. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. So when you go to kgradb.com, and click on the shop link and then click my name. They have St. Michael products. They have St. Benedict. St. Benedict is the patron saint for exorcists in Jesus and for police officers. And I think that's pretty special, knowing that, first of all, you're going to get great products, but also you're helping kids in Uganda. And Rachel, why you can't be a normal, kind human being after said you are demonically oppressed. Only a person who has demons attached to them would actually say something so vulgar when we're talking about fundraising for an orphanage. When you see God face to face, be prepared for him to say to you, I know you not. You evildoer, depart from me. Everyone else, that's what we're doing. So 100% of the profits will go to the orphanage in Uganda. Now, if you want to go to my website, you're certainly welcome to do so. BishopJamesLong.com. BishopJamesLong.com. I do want to let everybody know that I have a brand new book out. And Mr. Producer, I got to get you a copy, Mr. Producer. And this is a brand new book that I wrote. And it's over 260 pages. It's Bishop Long's Paranormal Investigators Training Manual. There's a lot of information here. Bishop Long's Paranormal Investigators Training Manual. If you go to BishopJamesLong.com, scroll down, you'll see it. It's right there. 100% of all the profits I am donating to the MKS Kids Foundation. 100%. So the more we sell, the more money they make. So the publisher has all of their payment information. The payment goes directly to them. And I think that's important. And at the end of the month, what I'll do, I'll post or let people know, here's the readout, here's how much money, here's how much we've sold, this is how much they have been given. I think it's important because, transparency is very, very important. But not all of this. I mean, you're getting a book that it's 260 pages. It took a lot of work to do this, but I think also to be able to give back to this orphanage and to help, it makes a real big difference. So there it is. Okay. Make sure bishopjameslong.com, scroll down. There's also, you can go to bishopjameslong.com and click on the resources button. And if you do that, there's several books there that you can purchase from friends of mine. And of course, I have some more books. But anyway, that book right there that you just saw, 100% of the profits goes to the MKS Kids Foundation. And then finally, the church's website, for those of you who don't want to know, guys, I'm telling you now, one more time, if I see one more person being muted, I'm putting sub chat on for TikTok. I'm telling you, that is it. I'm done. We're not going to play this little stupid childish nonsense here. Not tonight. So if you can't behave, I'm putting sub chat on for the rest of the night. You won't be able to chat unless you subscribe. That's the way it's going to be. USOCC.org. That is the church's website. USOCC.org. Well, I appreciate that, Anthony. See, it's Anthony. People like Anthony. Anthony says, "This is what I mean. We need more people like Anthony Spear." Anthony Spear says, "I'm sorry if I ever made a comment to you that was rude." See, this is what I'm talking about. That's the type of people that we need in this world. More like Anthony and less hateful people. I'm going to say this, and let me make this very clear to everyone. So I serve as an exorcist for the church. I performed 33 documented exorcisms on people who are truly possessed. I am telling you, and I'm letting you know now, and then we're going to move on with the show. Indulge me for a moment. If you troll, you need to be aware that you are behaving in a very evil way, and it is demonic. And that's coming directly from an exorcist. Because if you truly have the Holy Spirit in your heart, you don't troll another person. Trolling is when you try to use your words to hurt a person and you sit by and you watch their reaction and you get excited when it bothers them. That's abnormal. That is not normal behavior. So I'm trying to reach out. People say, well, you should stop talking stop talking to the trolls, stop getting them your attention. I'm clergy. It is my job to help people who are lost, and it's my job to encourage people who are not. And so that's, as clergy, that's my job. It's what I do. But I can only do so much. So I'm telling you now, if you continue to troll, you need to know that the only person that you're making, or the only being that you're making smile, is the devil. And you don't even realize the devil's already beaten you. And if you continue to troll, and you continue to use your words to hurt another person, then when you breathe your last breath, you will hear the flap of its wings. So my advice to you, you may not be thinking about death tomorrow. No one does, unless you're in the hospital and you're terminal. But as clergy, I have seen people as young as 3 years old, babies, infants, pass away. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. But you are guaranteed either eternal salvation or eternal damnation, one or the other. And when you use your words or actions to try to hurt other people, it is evil. So people need to understand that, yes, this is Paranormal Friday, but first, before anything else, I am clergy. And it is my job as clergy to help the ones that are lost, encourage the ones that are on the right path. That's what I do. I'm not just I'm not an entertainer on Friday night and then clergy is on the back burner. No, clergy is number one. Okay? So I'm trying to help. And that is all I'm going to address this for the night. But tonight, by the way, we were going to have our conversation about the 3-Eye Atlas. And Mark D'Antonio was going to be our guest this evening. However, he couldn't make it. So that's okay. That's okay. These things happen. It happens. But we're going to talk about an interesting topic that a lot of people, if you watch the paranormal shows, haunted cemeteries. Haunted cemetery. Yeah, you can go on, Brian. You can go. There's plenty online. Yeah. Well, let me just talk about the 3-eye atlas first of all. Let me just say this very quickly. I'm a space nerd. I went to space camp as a kid. So I'll be the first to admit I love space. I love the study of space. When I first heard of this, I told you then it was a comet. It was a month, 2-3 months. I don't know what it was. I told you, I said, guarantee you mark my words, when they finally get a better picture or video of this thing, it's going to come out as a comet. It is a comet. Now, what makes this unique is that it did come from, outer space, literally interstellar. That's what makes this so incredibly unique, is that this thing is so old. And just imagine if it could only tell stories, if it could only tell us could you imagine the stories? But it's a comet. That is it. That's what it is. It's interesting. It's different. It's unique because it's interstellar. But nonetheless, it's not a spaceship. It's not aliens. It's not a spacecraft. It's a comet. That's it. But it is interesting because, as I said, it's, goodness gracious, we're talking about something that's quite old. All right. Tonight, though, we're going to talk about a topic that I think is very interesting: cemeteries. And not only just cemeteries, but we're going to have a conversation about haunted cemeteries. I'm just curious, how many of you, and just say yes in the chat room, how many of you have been to what you would define as a haunted cemetery? I would love to know. Just say yes or no. Glenn, I promise you it's a comet. It's a comet. All right, so there's a lot of yeses. My goodness. Wow. Well, there's a lot. Okay, there's some no's. Okay. It's kind of half and half here, it seems like. Yeah. Okay, very good. Now, I want to remind everybody, of course, next week we will be here, and it will be Halloween. And we're going to talk about next week the history of Halloween and how we got to where it is today. Also, next week, we're going to do something even more interesting. I'll take your calls. And I want you to be able to tell maybe it's a paranormal experience, a scary story, something that deals with Halloween that you would like to share with other people. You got to keep it, but we got to keep it, brief, 5 minutes. I wish I could give people more time, but some people will want to talk for 30 minutes and then I can't bring anybody else on. So 5 minutes is definitely the cutoff. That's it. So just to be fair. So next week, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get together. We're going to talk about the history of Halloween, and you'll be sharing some of your stories, whether or not maybe if you paranormal investigated or whatever it might. As a kid, it doesn't matter. Now, let me just say this very quickly about Halloween. I think people get to the extreme when it comes to Halloween. I grew up Roman Catholic. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I grew up Roman Catholic. And we obviously had a Roman Catholic parish. And my parents, they had they helped to be in charge of a massive haunted house. And we had this haunted house, and it was gigantic. The parish itself was huge. It was big as it is. And then underneath the parish, underneath the church, it was like the dungeon. And that's really what we called it. It wasn't very tall. It was tall enough to where you could stand up, but it was dirt ground, and it was all concrete, and they had the poles and things, but this was massive. And my parents, along with the parish, put together a haunted house, a Roman Catholic parish. And not only that, but the priest, Father Tom, I think he should be a saint. He was one of the best priests I've ever known in my life. Father Tom, who was the parish priest, who was a Franciscan, was Count Dracula. And I'm going to tell you something. This haunted house, though, was so terrifying. It was so scary that they had to have, I think one or two. I thought it was two ambulances parked right there by the alley. They had to be there because people, they would pass out. because it was so scary. I mean, it was not a place that you go at night. I mean, you were afraid. I mean, it was scary stuff. And in Kentucky, it was one of the scariest haunted houses in Kentucky. But you got to remember, this was huge. This was a massive haunted house. And then you go into this dungeon and that already is spooky. But it was so funny to see Father Tom dressed as Count Dracula, in the scene coming out of his coffin. And I just thought, man, that's really cool. That is really, really cool. But he was a great priest. Father Tom, he was a beautiful soul. Beautiful soul. He was also the type of priest that when we had a lot of snow, we had the flood hill. It's pretty high. He would go to the flood hill with all of us, and we'd go flooding, in the sled and head on down the big old hill with us. It was just a really cool priest. So again, people who get so extreme about, well, you should never watch scary movies. It's like they want you to watch Gregorian chant. Listen to Gregorian chant. It's like but yet they're not doing it. All the people who are saying you shouldn't watch scary movies, I guarantee they're watching scary movies. They're just trying to tell you how to live your life. Or, well, you shouldn't be listening to that type of music, and they're probably rocking it out when they're in their car. Nonetheless, watching Jaws, which is considered a scary movie, is not going to make you possessed. And if watching Jaws, a shark lurking around the ocean, is somehow going to make you become possessed by demons, then I think there's a bigger issue going on than a great white shark. I'm just saying. So I think now I will not watch a scary movie that has incantations, that, summoning demons and this chanting stuff. No. I don't do that. I don't go there. But let's get into, and I would like to keep the chat open. Moderators, let me know if it gets too much. Tell me, and sub chat will be on. Okay. So Jax, let me know if it gets to be too much, because I see that you're blocking people like crazy. And if it does, then I will put sub chat on for the night. Simple, easy peasy. Okay. You enjoy that, or you enjoy what? Do you want me to put sub chat on or not? Hang tight, everybody. I'm trying to juggle a lot of things here. Yeah, just let me know. Oh, you're good? Okay. All right, well, just let me know. Well, thank you. Oh, thank you there, Don. Thank you very much. Okay, I want to talk first of all about ghost. Because thank you, JMB. Our friends are offering gifts to the. Thank you very much. Very kind of you guys. Well, Tom, you're incorrect, and I can actually prove it to you. Because if you want to use scripture to prove that there is no such thing as ghosts, I will prove that there is a such thing as ghost. And it's amazing that people always talk about that and say there is no such thing as ghosts. And then I ask them, well, how many times have you investigated? How many times have you investigated the paranormal? And you find out they've never investigated. So then you're giving your opinion based on what? Your opinion? Okay. So absolutely. Yeah, we know for a fact the scripture talks about ghosts, not just the Holy Ghost. People are going to say that's the Holy Ghost. No. When Jesus was walking on water, it says in scripture that they were terrified. They thought they were seeing a ghost. When Jesus was crucified and he was resurrected and he came back, and they were terrified and they thought they were seeing a ghost. What did Jesus say? Touch and see the flesh. Touch and see that you see here. Ghosts don't have flesh and bones as you see that I have. So therefore, nope, it wasn't the Holy Spirit, because if you look at scripture, the term ghost and demon and Holy Spirit are completely different in the Greek language. So you cannot, again, you're just giving an opinion based on nothing. So I've given you two examples where, in fact, scripture talks about ghost. And if ghosts did not exist, then Jesus would have said, don't be stupid, ghosts don't exist. That's not what Jesus said. Rather, he said, ghosts don't have flesh and bones as you see that I have. Therefore, implying that obviously ghosts, why? Because they're spirits. So that is the way it is. Here's the deal. I have investigated the paranormal for 35 years. I'm there on the scene. I'm at these locations. You are not. I am. I've investigated so many homes and locations. And I am telling you now, any seasoned investigators will clearly tell you without question that not everything is a demon, because it simply is not. It just is not. If it was, I would tell you. There's no ulterior motive, but I can only tell you that that's just simply not true. I have been to locations where it was very violent, incredibly violent. And I've also been to locations where it wasn't. There was activity, but I wouldn't say it was violent. And so I absolutely, yeah, sure. Jesus as a ghost, no problem. That's Luke chapter 24, verse 36 through 51. When Jesus was resurrected and they said, why are you so frightened? Why do you doubt? Look at my hands and see my feet and see that I am. Touch me and find out for yourselves. Ghosts don't have flesh and bones as you see that I have. Luke chapter 24, verse 36 through 51. And by the way, again, when Jesus was walking on water, it's Matthew chapter 14, verse 26. Okay, let's talk now about haunted cemeteries. Haunted cemeteries. I have been to quite a few cemeteries in my time. And there have been some cemeteries that I will not go to at night. I will not. Because those are places where when you go to those particular cemeteries, you're going to find something. And thank you very much, JD. Thank you. And if you don't, you're lucky. So, for example, the one cemetery that I went to called Gates of Hell, and I'll talk about that later on. That is one cemetery I will not go to at night. If you've ever seen the movie Silent Hill, that is Silent Hill. It is a different place during the day than it is at night. And we'll talk about that. I'll talk about that in just a second, but hang tight, everybody. So we have a couple locations that a lot of people have talked about, haunted locations, and many people have experienced it. Here it is. So first, we're going to begin in Atlanta at Oakwood Cemetery. It's a place where the 19th century echoes still press against the damp air. So the grounds there are a living map of families and plots and weathered stones. Oaks arch over iron gates, and the earth wears a coat of moss in the shade of a city that never fully finished to say goodbye. But there was one person, her name was Elise, and she tells the story. She told me about the Oakwood Cemetery, and it really frightened her. She arrived after a phone call that something in her life had, to stop moving forward. She had went to this place immediately, and rain hadn't begun to fall then at that moment, but a mist, kind of like a mist gathered along the gates. And from the mist, she swore that she saw a carriage, horses drawn by nothing but the cold breath of the dawn. It was like a mist. She heard the wheels rattled in like an older rhythm, and a cadence from a time when the doors closed softly. So Elise stepped onto the path, drawn toward a marker that she didn't know in life, but she feels that once she knew it in different life. And she was when I talked to her about this, it was very foggy that night. She swore that she saw this ghostly carriage. And the horse, she described it as like a fog, but she saw the carriage itself. It was foggy, but she saw it, and it stopped about maybe 50 feet ahead of her. And she absolutely completely stood still. And then she looked over to her right, and to this day, when I talked to her about this, her voice was even shaking. She saw this woman kind of like walk out from the tombstone and walking around and went right into a tree. Needless to say, she obviously, I mean, she booked out of there pretty quickly. But when I asked her, I said, well, do you think that this could be just maybe your eyes, playing a game or something? Because obviously you're talking about a carriage, you're talking about a mist. Is it possible that it was just a misidentification? She said, absolutely not. They were there. She was there with other people, and they all saw it. Because there are times, when you're looking at clouds, you can say, okay, well, that's a duck, or that's a this, and another person may see nothing at all. But they both saw this thing. A lot of people say that if you walk that old drive after midnight in the cemetery, you will hear this like a clattering of chains and of an old carriage. And you're not to approach it. The locals say, don't go near it, stay away from it. And even her friend Mara, she would sometimes go into this oak wood, and she loved going there at night. She would describe it as even like the gates seemed to breathe, like almost it was alive. And again, she was terrified. She won't go. By the way, Oakwood's silence isn't emptiness. There is when you go there, you will hear quiet. You'll hear the animals or the bugs do their business. But then something happens 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning where it just begins to come alive. They describe it as the animals stop, no birds, no crickets, nothing. It just stops. And that's when this mist came in. I know nothing about this. I've never been to this location, but I've spoken to several people who've been to Oakwood Cemetery in Atlanta, Georgia, and many of them have experienced what they describe as this kind of, the moonlit carriage. There's a next one called Mount Pleasant Cemetery, and that's in Concord, New Hampshire. So Mount Pleasant Cemetery in Concord, it's a Victorian hillside of marble and green. It's a place where a lot of people say the angels look down with their feathers, and time seems to hold its breath. The air has a ring of ceremonial stillness. And a lot of people love this place. It's very peaceful. It's very quiet. But there are some paranormal experiences with this particular cemetery. So Theo, he was a sculptor and carved angels in a studio near the north slope. And he poured his heart out into the cold stone. And one moonlit night, when the moon was full, something happened that became kind of like local lore as it is today. He swears that the marble angel closest to the studio where he was working blinked. Not a human blink, he described it, but like a deliberate closing and opening, as if the stone itself tested the night, for presence. Theo watched, tools lowered, as the eye of the angel seemed to search in the darkness for something. And the blink, he said, came again. And with a map etched into the chest and shoulders of the angels, lines that pointed toward a forgotten mausoleum, he swears that he saw this. Sometimes when you go to this angel, other people say that when you walk around behind it and then come out from behind it, you will see it blink. And many people describe as the temperature plummeting. When you go to this angel in this area and the dramatic temperature changes. There's also people claim to hear an insistent lullaby. It's faint, it's persistent, it comes from a mausoleum, and they will hear this, what sounds like a mother singing a lullaby to the baby. And one person described it as like it felt ancient, older, like a mother's song. That's it's not loud, but you can hear it. And Theo, of course, he's studied the map of the statue extensively, and he absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, C. David. And he swears that he saw this particular statue blink. Now, do I believe it? I think he truly believes, he experienced. Another person who spoke to me was Mara. So she went out a couple of years ago, she told me, and she went to this location. It was at night. They were going to investigate, and they found a crypt door that would not stay closed. It didn't swing on its hinges. It just sighed open. And inside this crypt lay a frost on the walls, and they absolutely swear they heard a voice. It was clear voice, and what they claimed that they heard was, "Do you remember?" They also used a spirit box, and the spirit box came back and said, "Remember, remember, remember," 3 times. Obviously, she was pretty terrified. And later, they discovered that the crypt's interior walls reveal like a map in frost that only appears when a listener's attention rests on that particular stone, that you can see this map that you normally could not when it's really cold, and you breathe on it, and you can kind of see this diagram. It's really strange. And if you ever go to this location, you got to be careful. No one has told me anything about being violent, but they will hear the lullaby. And when you go to this mausoleum, you're not supposed to respond to this, "Do you remember?" You just simply slowly back out. The next cemetery, right. Yeah, spirit box are very interesting. Basically, it's energy. It's a different frequency. Think of it like this. Elephants are able to produce a noise so deep that we can't hear, but yet elephants 20 miles away can hear it. And so, as a matter of fact, it's really, really interesting. I saw one History Channel where an elephant had placed its foot on the ground, its trunk on the ground, and it was listening to other elephants communicating if there was water or something of this. It's absolutely fascinating. So the belief with the ghost box, or if you will, is that it has a frequency. It does a very, very fast sweep of a radio. And if you ask questions and if you get a logical answer, then you don't dismiss it. For example, it goes really, really fast. What's your name? And if you have a very clear name, how old are you? And you have a whatever it might be, the age. So when you get this type of information, now sometimes I've had a ghost box where during an investigation in demonic, it was it had a full sentence. And that really is fascinating because obviously it's streaming very fast on the radio. And when you hear a full sentence like this, which makes sense to your question, you jot that down. Ghost. Here's what I believe. Heaven is not forced upon anyone. We know free will exists in heaven. We know this. And we know this because Satan freely rejected God while in heaven. Therefore, free will must exist. Heaven is not forced upon anyone. I believe heaven is presented. You can choose to remain here for whatever reason, perhaps unfinished business, whatever it might be. Whatever the theory is, we just simply don't know. But the idea that heaven is forced upon you makes no sense whatsoever, because I believe that free will is given to us and we still have free will in heaven. So, see, Wes, there's nothing wrong with that. Here's why I'm going to tell you why I know ghosts exist. There's no doubt about this. First of all, as an exorcist, I've investigated many locations, quite a few. I've investigated locations that were very violent, and there's no question that was demonic. But I've also investigated locations where it was not violent at all. There was no indicator whatsoever that this was evil. Look, friends, you don't have to guess if there is a demon that is present. You don't have to guess at this. That's absurd. Everything in your body is telling you it is time to leave. When there is a demonic entity that is present, your body is screaming at you, get out of there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And any seasoned investigator will tell you the same. I have been to locations where they had paranormal activity. It wasn't violent. Things were moved. Maybe the door was open. It just scared the family, and they didn't want that there. They didn't want that activity to happen. I would go and I would bless the home. I would pray for the deceased. And a matter of fact, I'll tell this one story, and this is why I tell people all the time. And I know there's a lot of people, they always take these cheap attacks on me. I don't really care. I'm on the ground. I'm investigating. I'm there. I went to a home. It was in Kentucky. It was in the middle of summer. It was 95 degrees outside. This home, the air conditioning was broke, but they had paranormal activity in the house. It wasn't violent. It was just something that unnerved them. So our team showed up, and I said, okay, we did an investigation. There was nothing. We got some EVPs, but there was nothing at all violent in that place. I said, okay, well, why don't let's do a prayer, and we help the person kind of move on and pray for a prayer for absolution and go from there. We did. There's a simple prayer that you do. At the moment that I say, and may your sins be forgiven in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask the Holy Spirit and the guardian angels to help lead them and guide them to heaven. Every one of us, and there was about 10 to 15 people, I can't remember exactly, it's been a while. We all felt a very cold breeze start at our feet, moving up towards our legs. I mean, it was noticeably cold. It was so noticeably that I had a digital temperature gauge. And prior to investigating or doing our prayer, it was 95 degrees in that house. And I put it on the same spot where we all felt that very cold. It was 65 degrees. Now that is a 30-degree difference. That's massive. That is absolutely 100% paranormal. There was no logical explanation for that. But we didn't feel threatened. None of us did. We all felt very peaceful. And it went all around and went up to the knees. When it got to the knees, it just vanished. And I know we all felt this a lightness, just felt this light kind of shine a little brighter in the room. So, well, that's all we're talking about right now. Right now, we're talking about Paranormal Fridays. But I think that's, from my perspective, there is no doubt in my mind that human spirits are absolutely, or ghosts are here. 100%. And then there are demonic entities. No one can tell me otherwise, because the other day, well, maybe about a month ago or so, 2 months ago, my sister Shannon, she passed away recently. She had this perfume. It was very distinct. It wasn't a bad smell. It was just a distinct smell. And I was thinking about her, and just kind of doing a little prayer and hoping that she's okay and she's enjoying the afterlife. Well, I was in the kitchen, and that smell was so prevalent. It was like she was right there in front of me, and she just sprayed it to just let me know she's there. That was beautiful. That was very powerful. Not to me. I didn't need that affirmation because I believe she's okay. But I am 100% convinced that my sister was there letting me know she's okay. And so there's no question about that. Yep. And also, by the way, I performed 33 exorcisms. In every single exorcism, right before it starts, I will smell roses. And why that's important is my Aunt Mary, she loved roses, loved it. And I remember her telling me when I was in the seminary, when she was transitioning from this life into the afterlife, she told me, she says, when you smell roses, I am there. In every single exorcism, right before I start, the room will have the overwhelming smell of roses. So no one is going to tell me that ghosts don't exist. I simply do not agree with it. I don't like the term ghost, but I think perhaps their spirit, their human spirit, no question at all. None question. Because priests can't heal the sick. Healing comes from God, not the priest. The priest is a mediator. The priest is the conduit that God is using. A person will be healed in God's time, not the priest's time. Okay, same thing for an exorcist. The priest is an instrument that God is using, and the person will be delivered in God's time, not the priest's time. So the next cemetery we're going to talk about is the Old Savannah City Cemetery. If you ever heard of this, hold on, guys. Let me get through this, and then we'll get to your questions. Otherwise, I'll never get through this presentation. All right. The Old Savannah City Cemetery it's a compact neighborhood of stone. It's a place where the air, carries a current of history, rumor. The grounds there remembers the fever's rush, the crowded rooms. Just amazing location there. There was an individual named Theo. He had gone to this cemetery and because he had heard of the rumors and the history behind it, of a ledger that alleged travels from tomb to tomb, moving with the river's memory. Anyway, he went there and he is absolutely convinced that he saw what appears to be what he described as a riverboat captain. And he said it looked like a riverboat captain. I said, well, how do you know what a riverboat captain looks like? He said, well, because I've been on the river all my life, and he was also in the Navy. So he saw what he described as a riverboat captain, but it was more older, like in 1890s or so. And he saw this figure standing right there by the tombstone and just went right into the grave and disappeared. He went over to that particular tombstone, and what was really fascinating about this, it happened to be a tombstone of an individual who was a former riverboat captain. So when you have that to me is pretty amazing. That's an amazing experience. I think it is, yeah. Yeah. I'll talk about the gates of hell in a moment. Yep. I certainly will. Okay. Let's talk about Glenwood Cemetery, Baltimore, Maryland. Really interesting. It was founded in 1851. It was once a serene garden cemetery. It's since earned a reputation as one of Baltimore's most haunted cemeteries. Overgrown crypts, statues of angels with hollow eyes, winding pathways. But it's the spirits that people say, the locals that linger there, that truly terrify. So Glenwood was the final resting place for many notable Baltimore families, but also a site where tragic events unfolded, like the mysterious passing of a young woman named Eleanor, whose grave is said to be allegedly cursed. We're going to talk about several stories. A woman visiting her friend's grave late at night claims that she felt an icy hand grabbed her wrist. She turned sharply to see a translucent figure of a man that was dressed in the 1800s clothing, staring at her with hollow eyes. She panicked and she ran. Thank you. But whispers echoed behind her. She could hear whispers and calling her name. And when she finally looked back, the apparition was gone. She could still feel the cold touch, though. The next one was a man in his 30s visited Glenwood to pay respects to his ancestors. And as he read aloud from an old family journal, he sensed an intense cold. He saw a figure from the corner of his eyes. It was an old woman dressed in Victorian attire, just staring at him. And when he turned to speak to her, she evaporated like into a mist. And by the way, later he learned that the same woman was buried nearby. Her presence is considered a sign of spiritual protection, or some people say even a warning. The next one is the Pythian Cemetery in Albany, Georgia. So this was actually in 1883 by the Knights of the Pythias, and the historic cemetery holds dark secrets, and the kind of secret that has made it notorious among locals. So the cemetery is the burial ground of many African American veterans and community members. It's said to be cursed after a violent feud in the late 1800s, which left, some people say, spirits restless. There was a family visiting during a storm, reports a figure draped in black emerging from the fog, whispering unintelligible words before vanishing. Another person said a paranormal investigator caught an EVP of a woman crying out for help. No one was around. Late night visitors have seen ghostly Confederate soldiers marching along the graveside, their figures flickering in and out. A young boy was playing near the graves when he suddenly called out to his mom that he saw a little girl in yellow dress waving at him. She was perfectly solid, but when his mom called out, her daughter the little girl disappeared. The boy was terrified, and reports from security cameras show no sign of anyone else nearby. There was an elderly man walking through the cemetery at dawn, claims that he saw a young soldier in uniform kneeling beside his grave. And as he approached, the soldier looked up. He looked right at him with sorrowful eyes and vanished. And the man said he felt an overwhelming sense of grief and guilt. A teenage girl, you can camp kind of nearby there, heard a faint voice calling her name within the graves. She investigated, crawling through the tangled bush, and heard a whisper saying, "Help me." And she claimed she saw a shadowy figure reaching out from a crypt, but fled in terror, obviously. She said she would never, ever return there again. The next one is the Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. Now, this was established in 1849, overlooking the James River. The cemetery is famous for the elaborate tombs of Confederate presidents, Civil War generals, Virginia aristocrats. So beneath its marble and granite lies stories of tragedy, war, death. Many people say the spirits there are restless. So a couple that was camping nearby the grounds heard the distant sound of marching soldiers, gunfire, only to see spectral figures reenacting a Civil War battle. A researcher actually found himself inexplicably trapped in a fog bank, and he says he saw a shadowy figure. Visitors claim to see the figure of a woman in white wandering near the graves. By the way, a historian doing research late at night actually recorded voices and footsteps reenacting a Civil War skirmish. Soldiers were shouting out orders, and suddenly a figure in a Confederate uniform appeared, frozen mid-stride, and then allegedly came towards the historian before vanishing. There was a woman in white. Workers on the grounds report that during a storm, they saw a silhouette of a woman in white floating near the tomb of a Confederate officer. And when he approached, she turned, stared right into his eyes, and he said an expression of deep anguish. He disappeared. And also a night security guard reported that every night at midnight in the cemetery, a figure in a long coat and hat would appear atop a huge oak tree. It would stare down silently as he watched and then vanish when he blinked. Every time he saw this. Yeah, it is interesting. Cemeteries are, I've been in some cemeteries, kind of later at night where I felt nothing. Then I've been in cemeteries at night where it becomes a place where I didn't want to be. This next one is called the Wood Cemetery in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's a historical burial ground founded in the 1700s. It has low walls, ancient trees. So built on land that once hosted colonial battles, the cemetery has a long history of strange occurrences, phantoms, unexplainable noises, ghostly apparitions. That's true, David. There's a lot of Teslas. It's really interesting. There are a lot of these cars that have, I don't know what you call it. I don't know what the term is, but it shows if there is an animal. I know it's heat signature, but you can actually see it. But apparently, on some of these cars, they're driving at night through cemeteries, and it's picking up something. You can see like a stick figure almost. And I don't know what the terminology is. If those of you who know, let me know. But I've seen them, many of them on YouTube or other. Can't say that because you get punished. But yeah, what is that? Do you know what that it's called? Yeah, if you type in electric cars seeing ghost, well, it's kind of infrared. Uses the same tech as Xbox. Okay. It's sensing people with its sensors. Yeah, it is. So there's supposed to be some really amazing technology where, if you're driving and you might be a deer or something like that, which would be great to have that, which it does work. The problem is people are going through cemeteries and it's picking up these things, which that's really interesting. The Wood Cemetery. Let's continue on this. A tour guide reports that at night, she sees a ghostly figure appears to communicate through wind whispers. So she would hear hello, that. A grave digger or undertaker recounts an encounter with a figure who vanished into air after being approached. A couple staying overnight swears that they were awakened by the sound of dragging chains. I don't know why they'd be staying there overnight. A paranormal investigator who spent the night there actually caught an audio, the sounds of whispers, loud and clear. It would call out names. And when reviewing footage, shadowy figures appeared at the edge of a camera frame. Was sitting there watching him. Also, a couple walking their dog at night reported seeing an old-fashioned carriage pulled by these ghostly horses suddenly appear across the road. And when they chased after it, it vanished down a hidden alley, leaving behind only the sound of hooves walking on the cobblestones. A woman walking through the cemetery felt a cold, unseen hand brush her shoulder. And turning around, she saw nothing. And then she looked at her arm, and the skin had faint. It was like a discoloration. She was obviously frightened. Now, many of these paranormal investigators would call them residual. Residual haunting is like how our energy is able to imprint or leave an imprint on a location. For example, if you go to a really old abandoned place or even an old cabin or something of this nature and you walk into it, you can feel that energy. You can just feel it. And so that the theory is that it leaves this imprint, this energy. And with residual energy, it's just residual. It's like a recording repeating itself. Yep, like a report. There is there's no intelligence behind it. It's just a repetition stuck in the loop of time, a time cycle. But that's different than intelligent. Because intelligent, they interact with you. They know they are there and they know you are there. That's completely different altogether. Now, I actually have a friend that went to this particular cemetery. This cemetery is called the Cemetery of the Dead in Nolens. It's an eerie labyrinth of above ground tombs and crypts, known as one of the most haunted sites in the city. There's a history, voodoo, spirits, all intertwined. So I'll promise you guys, I'll get to your questions, but right now I'm doing a little lecture here, as we do, because if I answer every single question, then I'll never get through the lecture. So hang tight, just chill, enjoy the stories, and then we'll answer some questions. Established in the 18th century, the cemetery is the final resting place for pirates, voodoo priests, scandalous figures. If you follow God, you wouldn't celebrate Halloween. If you follow God, you wouldn't judge. Okay. Now, on this particular cemetery, the Cemetery of the Dead, a tour guide recounts the visitors felt icy fingers grip their shoulders, only to turn and see that there's no one there. An explorer discovered an old voodoo doll tucked into a crypt. Shortly after, heard strange voices whispering in a foreign language. Late-night photographers claim to have captured ghostly figures peering out from behind tombstones, their faces twisted in silent screams. A friend of mine, he was a photographer, and he visited the cemetery just before dawn. He wanted to capture, the haunting beauty of the old tombs. And as he aimed the camera at a particularly very ornate crypt, he felt a cold breeze. He swears he saw a tall, shadowy figure materialize right behind it. He was looking in the camera, because he was like doing this, kind of looking, and then he could see something right behind him on the screen. He did a reverse picture. I don't know how he did it. He panicked. And obviously, as he turned around, it completely dissolved. There was a pair of ghost investigators, paranormal investigators. They set up sound recording equipment near a crypt that was alleged to be cursed. And around midnight, their devices captured a heart-wrenching scream, so intense and desperate that it made their blood run cold. They rushed over to investigate. Nothing appeared. When they checked the recordings later, the scream was still there. The voice screamed, "Don't leave me." They can't explain it even to this day. A local historian spoke about visiting the cemetery at sunset when he suddenly felt like he was being watched, and he turned and he saw an old man dressed in like 19th century clothing standing silently among the graves. The man pointed to a crypt and slowly walked away, fading into the shadows. And over the following weeks, other visitors reported feeling a protective presence near that crypt, as if the spirit was guarding a secret or something. A paranormal tour guide led a group through the eerie mausoleums at midnight, and focusing on a crypt known as to be haunted. Suddenly, the guide saw a woman in a flowing white dress appear to float above the ground. Her face was expressionless, eyes staring into the void, and she hovered silently and disappeared to the wall of the crypt. And the tour obviously group was left trembling, and some even questioned whether she was a spirit seeking closure or even a demon. And one of the more disturbing accounts in this particular cemetery involves a visitor who heard dragging chains echoing, in the dead of night. And following the sound, he saw a faint glow from within a crypt, so he approached carefully. Inside the crypt was empty, except for there were chains that clinked softly as if something was pulling. And the visitor felt a heavy weight, as if the spirits were trying to pull him into the crypt. So he ran away. Obviously, he swore he would never, ever return there again. And by the way, if you've ever experienced any of these cemeteries, let us know. So for those of you just joining us, I'm Bishop Long. We're having a fun show tonight, our Paranormal Friday show. We're talking about haunted cemeteries this evening. Haunted cemeteries and people's experiences. And I want to remind all of you, don't forget, go to kgradb.com. Again, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Make sure you click on the shop link. And when you do, you will see it there. Click on my name, Bishop James Long, and purchase those items, because 100% of that, 100% that I would receive goes to our friends, the MKS Kids Foundation. And I think that's awfully nice for all of us to do that. So please consider doing that. I'm going to make a video for you guys right now on all the other social media platforms. Here you are.
Fans of Bishop James Long, the renowned exorcist and paranormal expert on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Now you can carry his wisdom with you. Our Bishop James Long collection features blessed apparel such as St. Benedict hats and tees, as well as home items to protect and inspire. Elevate your spiritual journey. Go to kgradb.com/shop and discover the Bishop James Long merch today.
Here. For those of you on all the other social media platforms, I was talking to my friends there on TikTok. Again, don't forget, go to my website, bishopjameslong.com. Bishopjameslong.com. Scroll down to where you'll see the brand new book, Bishop Long's Paranormal Investigators Training Manual. So it's a lot of work, and I think I'm pretty happy with the book. Anyway, 100% of the profits, 100%, goes to the MKS Kids Foundation, an orphanage in Uganda. So it's my work. I have every right to take all the money that comes from selling the book. When you're an author and you write a book, you have a right to make money off of your work. It's your work. Just like if you go to work 2 weeks, well, you expect a paycheck from your work. Well, this is my book. And this put a lot of work into this. So I have every right to say, well, I should be paid for it. It's my work. Instead, we are donating 100% to the MKS Kids Foundation. Okay? And I love how people say, what about orphanages in the United States? As if you can't do both. I don't like this. That is so not Christian. That is so not Christian. Well, what about Americans? So do both. I don't get this competition. So now because they're in Uganda, that we can't help them. They're kids. They're children. And the difference between an orphan child in the United States versus an orphan child in Uganda is the difference between East and West. Completely 100% different. One, when you see the children in Uganda with the great big bellies, it's not because they're full. It's because they've been drinking dirty water that has parasites in it. Nothing better than Christian love. Absurd. Anyway, if you wish, purchase the book, and 100% of the profits goes to them. Okay. Yep, I'm aware of that. I'm aware, guys. There's a lot of fake Bishop James Long accounts. People are getting scammed left and right, and then they get mad at me because they chose to do something which was silly. I'm not going to ever send you a message, ever, asking you for money. I'm not ever going to ask you to send money. I'm never going to do it under any circumstances. Even if I was living in a cardboard box, you would never receive an email or a message from me asking for money. Period. All you have to do, if you are on TikTok and you receive a message from someone claiming to be me, all you got to do is push their little button, go to their profile. I have nearly 800,000 followers. It's simple. If they don't have 800,000 followers, they're a fraud. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's go to the Boot Hill Cemetery in Tombstone, Arizona. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. Tombstone, Arizona. That's right, yeah. And Pamela says America doesn't have orphanages. We have foster care and group homes. You can't help. What about America? What about America? What's wrong with America? Okay. Anyway, so let's go to Tombstone, Arizona, everybody. Home of the legendary Boot Hill Cemetery, known as the final stop for the outlaws of the Old West. You know, this site boasts a reputation for, the history. Wow, we're going to thank you. It was founded in 1878 during the gold rush, and Boot Hill is the resting place for numerous men who passed away and and fights and tragic accidents and etc. Many of their spirits supposedly linger. So visitors have reported hearing the crack of weapons and screaming all through the night, despite the cemetery being quiet. Tour guides saw a ghostly figure pull a certain weapon from its belt, vanish into darkness. Hikers have been seen spectral cowboys riding through the mist, their boots clanging on the dirt. Interesting. And throughout these haunted cemeteries, stories emerge as like ghosts from the abyss, silent whispers and witnesses to the tragedies and secrets. So the next time, if you go to this location, you need to be aware this is a very haunted location. Many people will have heard there's a particular ladies of the night that people will see these women dressed in like 90s, 1870s, 1880s, long dresses and almost dancing, in the cemetery. One person said that they saw this woman that she looked like she had 1890s clothing, and she was just dancing, she's twirling and then disappeared. Now, a lot of people claim to hear what you would normally hear, obviously, in the wild, wild west. Obviously, you get one, not firecrackers, but you understand what I'm trying to say, because you can't say that on TikTok because everything is heavily guarded. Nonetheless, you get the point. But these places, here's what I want to say about these haunted cemeteries. Some of these cemeteries, they're very benign, and there are some cemeteries that have no violent activity whatsoever. Calm. There is activity, but it's nothing violent. There are other cemeteries that are incredibly dangerous. What I would strongly encourage anyone is, please do not. First of all, if you're going to investigate, you don't need to scream. They're dead, not deaf. You don't need to scream. I saw one investigator at a tombstone screaming, "Can you hear me?" Dude, you're talking to a tombstone. I mean, what are you doing? I'm just screaming. And so you don't necessarily, you probably shouldn't do that. And it's not necessary. There was I am going to play this. Let me see if I can find it. There was I hope I can find this. This was at Eastern Cemetery. I've played this before. And yep, here it is. I think it's, let me because it belongs. Yep. So this is at Eastern Cemetery. This place was horrible, what this person did. The caretaker of Eastern Cemetery obviously didn't take care of the cemetery at all. As a matter of fact, he buried people on top of each other. And then he would take people that were already buried and dump them in a ravine. And nonetheless, he's in prison. But I was walking past the place. It's a little above ground, kind of like a mausoleum, where they placed people who were cremated. And they had their urns there. It's an old, there's no urns now. It's all completely been gutted. But I walked past it because I was just going to ask, well, do you know who I am? Because I was going to see if they said James or, a priest or something. Even to this day, I don't know why I got this, but I got a Class A EVP, and it says Seth. And it's very clear. Now, I didn't hear it, because if you hear it, that's called a disembodied voice. But when I played it back, I mean, it was like, that was really surprising. Listen to this.
Do you know who I am?
Absolutely.
Do you know who I am?
So it says Seth.
Do you know who I am?
I have no idea who Seth is, but I do know that was captured at the Cave Hill Cemetery. And when I heard that, I wasn't, when I got back into the car, and I thought, wow, that's insanity. But yeah, you absolutely, I heard it. I don't know who Seth is, but I heard it. This also was at was at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. And I'll talk about the Gates of Hell in a second. Something was not right that night at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. Everything was off. It felt evil. And so I asked, are you friendly? And this is what, again, we didn't hear the growl, but when I played back the recorder, this is what was captured.
Is there anyone here? Are you friendly?
Now, that obviously doesn't need any explanation, but this was at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. So let me explain a little bit about the Gates of Hell Cemetery. Some of you have already heard the story, but just indulge me. It's a lot of people who are new. So this was a long time ago. This was 24 years ago, maybe. Yeah, I think it's 24 years ago. So some families had contacted me, and because there was allegedly in this cemetery, there were people doing things that they should not have done, not be doing, a lot of bad stuff. And they asked me if I would go bless it. And I said I would. And so this is an old abandoned cemetery. No one even ever heard of this cemetery. It's abandoned. It's on a dead end road. So you have to go on this windy, like a 2-mile road to get there. And in the back of it, there is what they call the witch's tree. It's a big, huge dead tree. And there's a fence around it, like a U-shaped fence. And there's lots of trees. And so, blessing the ground, consecrating the ground, because they had family members that were buried there, and they didn't like the fact that people had gone there and desecrating the grave. Desecration means they would they would go in and destroy the tombstones. Stupid, just being stupid. And so the first time I got there, I went there in the daytime, and I saw all these graves that were desecrated and destroyed, and I thought, that's just terrible. So we went to this location. We went at night. We stayed there at night. All hell broke loose. We actually heard growls. We saw strange eyes, glowing eyes that were on the outside of the perimeter of the cemetery. It was not a good place. As a matter of fact, the next day I had an online radio show, the Sacred Division, and it was at a radio network that was 24/7 paranormal. And I said, this is like it was like the Gates of Hell. And then one of the investigators says, that's it. That's what we're going to call this, the Gates of Hell Cemetery. That's how it got its name. So we went back not long after because we wanted to do a night investigation. And this is a place, and I've talked about this. So I was there with 3 other people. Bishop David Price was there with me. And we went back to the witch's tree. And it was midnight. Now, we were there just to investigate. We weren't there to perform the minor rite of exorcism. We were just to gather truth. So we were at the back of this, and there was trees, these big trees surrounding the cemetery. The wind started pushing these trees back and forth, the very top of it, and they were going back and forth. And we saw shadow people, hundreds. I mean, at first it started like with 5, and then 10. And then 15, they were darting behind the trees that were right outside the perimeter of the cemetery. And it looked like they were starting here, because here's the front. And it looked like they were going this way, trying to close us in. When that happened, all the crickets stopped. And this was in the middle of summer. All the crickets stopped. There was no noise. We didn't feel the wind where we were. We saw the wind really hitting those trees, but we could not feel the wind. And we thought immediately, okay, it's time to go. Something is here, and this is not safe. So we decided it's time to go. So we went out. It's same way in, same way out, this dirt path. And we were about I don't know, 15 feet maybe from the entrance or so. And there's a great big tree right in the very front. And we had our backs, three of us had our backs towards the cemetery, and we were talking about what we all experienced. And one of the investigators, we heard a rattle, and we looked down, and he was shaking. This was, again, 20-something years ago. This is when they had the big batteries, and the flashlights, and we heard this rattling. Like, what in the world's going on? He was terrified. He was seeing something. We turned around to look at what he was looking at. I've said this a million times. I don't know what this was. I can't define it. I have no clue. I know what we saw, and I've described it many times before. It was a massive bat. That's what it looked like, a big 10-foot massive bat. We all saw it. The wings were spread out. It was from edge to edge. It was so clear. We saw the claws. We could see the claws. It was looking right at us. It had a long torso. It was looking right at us, fluorescent red eyes. It made no noise. But we all knew that if we stepped 1 inch closer, that we were going to get in some serious trouble. We slowly backed away. We got in our cars and we took off. And we were in shock because I had never seen anything like that before, ever. I don't know. Some people say Mothman, perhaps. When we finally got to, I think it was a gas station or something, by the time we got there, finally we started talking about what we experienced, because it really rattled us. And we all described the same thing. Well, if there's an invitation, yes, it can enter into a consecrated ground. If there's an invitation. Yeah, I think it had to be some type of a Mothman, but it was pretty clear. Seth was the third child of Adam and Eve. This is in Kentucky. So what we saw, and by the way, when I got home, so right across my house, there's a great big field, and I had my dog Kylie. She was doing her business outside in front, and I've talked about this before. That night, when I got home, the growl that I heard, I've heard a lot of growls before, but the growl that I heard that night, I've said this, it's like someone putting a bass speaker on my back and turning the bass up as loud as it could. That growl was so deep, I could feel it in my lungs. I could feel it. I grabbed Kylie, said, no, we're going in. This was a very deep growl. Something that I have never heard in my entire life, ever. And to this day, we all saw it. All four of us, we all saw it. We don't know what it is, but we all saw it. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's been desecrated. Oh yeah, the dog, she freaked. She just froze. She was froze. So yeah, again, Seth is the third child of Adam and Eve. But I don't know. Now, by the way, I made a documentary on that, and you can go to my website, bishopjameslong.com, scroll down to where it says official social media links, and you will see the tube to the U. I had to say that. Tube to the U. If you click that, go to where it says the Gates of Hell Cemetery. And so, whatever it was in the cemetery. Oh, yeah. No, let me tell you something, guys. Listen to me. First of all, do not go to this location at night. Some of you are going to well, we're going. I'm telling you. This is what I won't go there at night. And I won't go there at night not because I'm afraid of demons. I won't go there at night because I don't know what that thing was that I saw. And because I can't define it, it's a different place. It is like Silent Hill. It is like Silent Hill. During the day, you feel like you're being watched, but it's tolerable. Night, it is not the same cemetery. At night, that place comes alive. Let me just tell you this. The Gates of Hell Cemetery is a heck of a lot more terrifying than Bobby Mackey's. There is no comparison. None whatsoever. None. Barbara, a lot of people ask me, do I think it comes from an evil place? A lot of people say it was like a watchman or a protector. I don't know. I can't define it. But I do know that we all saw it. Music. I haven't seen that. It was more just James, Tom. Female ordination. Well, we ordain women. But this is in Kentucky. Yeah. Don't go. No. There have been people who have gone to this place, and I talk about it. I've talked about it for a while, and I tell people don't go to it, and they did it anyway. One person was severely scratched. I mean, it was pretty deep. And then they wanted me to immediately drop everything that I was doing so I could perform a deliverance. And I told them I can't. I literally had no time. You have to, guys, I have 21,000 emails right now. People asking me to help them. I help them. I do this for free. I don't charge for this ministry, and I don't get paid as a bishop. I don't get paid from the church. I fund my own ministry. So with the Old Catholic Church, we don't receive a stipend or salary, and I don't charge. So there's a lot of people asking me for help because I do it for free, but it's not free. I got to pay to get there. And so they wanted me to stop everything that I was doing to help them. And I told them, look, I told you very clearly that you had no business going to this location. You chose to do it. You cannot expect me now to stop everything that I'm doing and to now take care of what you did when there are people who are also in deep trouble asking me for help. You got to get in line. That's the way it goes. So I think it's very dangerous for people to get involved and just stay away. Okay. Poltergeist. Okay. A poltergeist. So poltergeist is energy. It means noisy ghost. It is not a ghost at all. So this is what a poltergeist is. It is energy that usually someone is omitting, negative energy. It's very simple. Let's say, for example, you're walking down the street, someone's walking towards you. You don't know that person, but you know you don't want to know them. So you go on the opposite side of the tree and no, I'm not, well, I don't want to be around that person. That's energy. That person is omitting negative energy. When a person is going through extreme emotional trauma, that causes poltergeist activity, negative energy. The manifestations for poltergeist usually will always be electrical appliances, either will catch fire or they have something doesn't work, it stops working. Fire in general is a major problem with poltergeist. Doors can open and shut. Things can be tossed, but it primarily that I have experienced with poltergeist is it pushes a lot on the electrical systems. Like, for example, if you have drapes or curtains by an electrical outlet, not a good idea, especially if you have poltergeist activity. So what happens is when you remove that person who is going through extreme emotional trauma, when you remove them from their home, the activity will either stop or it will it's residual. But it's limited. So sometimes you'll have the activity still, but it's not as heavy. It's not as aggressive. But thank you very much. As soon as you bring the person right back into the home, it explodes. A demon is a fallen angel, a fallen but unconfined angel. They're not people. They were never people. Human spirit is obviously our spirit, our soul. And obviously when you're talking about energy that's residual haunting is not intellect. It's not intelligent. It's just a cycle of repetition. That's all it does. It's a repetition. They're not even aware that they're aware. It's just a repetitive. Versus intelligent haunting is they know they are present and they know you are present. Sometimes they try to interact. When you have a human spirit that's in a home trying to get attention, usually the attention is incredibly minimal. So for example, I don't know, a pen might move, or a comb, or it's something small, something that doesn't take a great deal of energy. You have to remember, to move something and push something in spirit form takes a great deal of energy. With a demonic entity, that is completely and totally different. A poltergeist activity, if the energy is high, it can move. I've seen moves some things, heavy things, but it's just moving them. With a demonic, you are the target. There's a big difference between a poltergeist energy versus a demonic. I can perform a million minor rite of exorcism on a location that has poltergeist activity. It does nothing. It does nothing at all because it's not demonic. And so it is the kinetic energy. Yeah, think of kinetic energy as a perfect way to describe it. So I have gone to the Appalachian Mountains before. I have investigated there before. I have heard whistles in the middle of the night investigating there. So, yeah, guys, I can only answer one question at a time. So, anyway, shadow figures, that Brad, it's an interesting thing. I have been to locations where shadow figures, where it was demonic. And I have also been, like, for example, Waverly Hills. I live in Louisville. So Waverly Hills is located in Louisville, Kentucky. And I've been to Waverly Hills many, many times. And only one time when I went to Waverly did I feel uncomfortable. Only one time, and that was it. But if you go to the location, if you go there, you go on their nightly investigation, you'll see shadow people. But I've never ever felt threatened, ever. So, but I have. Well, thank you. I have absolutely felt. It's really rare to feel evil at Waverly. I just didn't. So, I don't understand the question. Where do we go when we die? Well, hopefully we all go to heaven. That's the goal, isn't it? That's the goal. San Antonio is very beautiful. Yep, very beautiful. They did. Sarla, you got to remember though, at Waverly Hills, maybe I'll do a presentation on Waverly again. Waverly at that time was the epitome, the place to go to if you had tuberculosis. It was state of the art. It really, truly was. But unfortunately, there was a lot of medical experimentations, if you will, that was quite, matter of fact, Miss Wilma's father had tuberculosis, and he was a patient at Waverly Hills. He had one of his lungs removed there. Thank you. Because of it. So, she has a different experience with Waverly Hills than a lot of other people. Okay. And by the way, next week, I have right. Next week, we're going to be here for Halloween. We're not done yet. We're not done for the night. We're going to be here for Halloween, and I'm going to be doing a presentation. It'll be a fun presentation. The history of Halloween. We're going to be doing some other things as well, and also I'll be taking your calls. And wow, with a name with Jesus, you would think that you would actually act like Jesus. But anyway, I'll be taking your calls on maybe some paranormal experiences that you've had. Thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you. I'd be very interested in hearing that. But we're going to limit people to five minutes. 5 minutes. And that's only because, well, thank you very much. Oh, please. Thank you. Because we have to be fair to other people who want to jump on. And so there we go. Yeah, there's plenty of room in heaven. Yep. I've never been to Gettysburg. No, never been. Well, Debbie, here's the thing. Here's what I think about how can there be spirits here on earth and when they're supposed to be in heaven? Because you're thinking of heaven as restricted in time or space. Heaven exists outside of time and space. It's not restricted. My argument is that you can be in heaven and be here at the same time. We live in a world that we are restricted. It is time. It is space because we have bodies. Can't be in two places at once. But with heaven, it's not restriction. That exists outside of time and space. God cannot be restricted. God exists outside of it. Thank you very much, please. So, different dimension. Yep. Yeah, certainly. People can curse you. People can curse you, and in that case, you call upon Jesus. You call upon Saint Michael. And what is it? Well, Alexander, we'll do a presentation on that tomorrow, on next week. The history of Halloween, how we got to Halloween, and we'll do a whole presentation on it. So, thank you there, Jessica. Thank you. Okay. Yep, it'll be live. It will be live on next week. Let's get into some articles, guys, because we had some really cool articles that I want to share with you. Some of them are like, well, that's interesting. There was an apparition. For those of you who like spooky stuff, which obviously most of you do because you're here. And by the way, for those of you that keep saying that I'm doing the work of the devil and that I should be ashamed of myself, that's why you've been in here for 45 minutes. You're entertained. Okay. Sorry, I just had to. I mean, if I was doing the work of the devil, why are you staying 45 minutes? Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. TK Randall writes this. Thank you very much. An apparition was picked up on CCTV outside a medieval Chester Castle. Something strange was wandering the grounds of one of England's most intriguing historic castles recently. As part of this year's Halloween season celebrations, English Heritage, which manages hundreds of historic sites, monuments, and buildings across England, has shared a still image that was captured by a motion-activated CCTV camera outside Chester Castle in Cheshire. The camera had reportedly picked up an unusual movement before snapping a photograph of what appears to be a hooded, semi-transparent humanoid figure walking through the rain in the dark. So, upon being alerted to the presence of someone or something at the site, a security guard went to investigate and found nobody at all. And while he was attending the scene, his dog became scared and refused to move. A full search was then carried out of the whole building, but there was no sign of anyone. Now, the castle itself has long been home to stories of paranormal encounters ranging from the sound of ghostly piano music to sightings of mysterious figures evaporating into mist. At least half of the staff working there have had some sort of unexplained experience. Chilling tales of the returning dead have been told since the dawn of recorded history and provide a way of understanding our relationship with the dead and the past, said curator Dr. Michael Carter. They captivate and intrigue us, and there's nothing like the delicious excitement of sharing a spooky tale with friends and family. So you guys might want to, it's very haunted. Oh, Poppy is saying you're from Cheshire, and it's a very haunted area. Very cool. So guys, you might want to go online on a social media platform that, has videos. And anyway, it's just type in, yep, it's right there for you. Chester Castle. Chester. Chester. Chester Castle in Cheshire. I'm probably blaring that. Destroying it. Cheshire, England. It really is a very good video. I mean, I saw it. I'm thinking, well, that's pretty interesting. So, okay, what was the questions? What was the questions? We're trying there for him. If you have questions, I'll entertain them. If not, I got lots of articles. The poor angels. Do I believe the poor angels are coming back? You'll have to explain that one to me. I've heard of them, Dublin. I don't know a whole lot about the Dublin's asking, have you heard of the Hellfire Club in Ireland? Oh, the four angels. The four angels. Oh, I got you in Revelation. Keep in mind, guys, I am running the presentation on two computers. So over here, I'm running it on KGREDB radio. and all of our other social media platforms. So when you ask a question, they can't see or hear you or anything. So I have to kind of let them know what you're asking. So I'm kind of juggling multiple things going on at once. Okay. The four horsemen, I don't worry about that. I don't worry about Revelation. I don't worry about if you're worried about the rapture. I don't worry about any of that stuff. Remember, Paul addressed this in the first century. There was a church, the church actually, one member, they stopped working because they were absolutely convinced that the second coming was going to happen in their lifetime. And then Paul said, get back to work. Stop worrying about this. So for those of you who continue to worry about this, just stop. You can't control it. So why worry about it? Worry about the things you can control. Let go of the things that you can't. Be kind. Have compassion. Show empathy. Use your words to lift people rather than to hurt them. Because I tell you all this, if you're going online and you're using your words to troll another person, you do not have the Spirit of Christ within you. Because if you truly had the Spirit of Christ within you, you wouldn't troll another human being. Because trolling in of itself is evil. It's demonic. You're using your words to purposely to try to hurt another human being. That's evil. We cannot normalize abnormal behavior. So I would encourage those of you who do this to stop. So anyway, well, yeah, the rapture was a relatively newer concept that was termed. I understand the root word and why they say of the rapture. I don't worry about it. If I believe, oh yeah, that's a good, no, Alexander, I'm not talking, you're not trolling. You're just asking a question. That's in general. Stick around. You'll see. That was in general because a lot of people have been blocked, as you've seen tonight. So, but don't worry about it. Don't worry if you don't need to worry about being terrified of the revelation, and it just spend your time loving people, having compassion and empathy for others, and don't worry about the end of times. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Okay. Oh, thank you there, Dr. Campbell. Yeah, so Scarefest was interesting. Scarefest was very, very interesting. Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky. It was one of the largest, paranormal horror cons in the United States. It was massive. It was huge. I was able to see my friends, the Booth brothers. I'm actually very good friends with both Christopher and Philip. I've been in 5 of their documentaries already, and I talked to Christopher, and he's going to be doing something perhaps next year, and so something might be in the works. We'll see. But Christopher's a great guy, absolutely. So no, we don't do a Saturday show anymore. Well, no, we don't do the Saturday show because I've got to have Saturday because I do 26 homilies a week when I do Bible studies and night prayer, and I've got to have that day to prepare for all the homilies, put everything together. So it takes a while. So yeah, Saturdays I got to have off. All right. Another article that I wanted to present, and just throw in the questions if you have any. Oh, and by the way, remember all the people that were screaming and hooping and hollering and going all over social media and saying, remember with the Sean, what the Legion of Exorcists show? Yep, you can still watch that. That's still out there. Eli Roth presents Legion of Exorcists. That's what it's called. It's a really good show. We don't know about season 2, but listen to this. Yes, C. West. All the people that were going on social media scaring you about all the drones, telling you that they were ET. Well, thank you, Jelly. They were ET, that they were UFOs. Remember all of them? They went all over social media, scared the hell out of people. Just scared everybody. Because they wanted to get their clicks. That's what they did. That was a hot thing to do, to scare people. So they made plenty of money scaring everybody. Well, what did Bishop Long say? I said they were drones. And then I also said, watch, you're going to find out they were military drones. T.K. Randall writes, military firm admits to causing UFO controversy over the New Jersey last year. In a surprising move, the firm, which is contracted by the U.S. military, has taken responsibility for the phenomenon. Social media had been awash back in November 2024 after hundreds of sightings of mysterious objects above the state of New Jersey generated alarm and curiosity in equal measure. The Office of Emergency Management recorded 964 sightings in total spanning 2 months. Anyway, so great was the concern over the phenomenon that even the White House got involved in attempting to kind of calm people's fears. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, as it said. Well, fast forward amidst the full year, and now we actually do know their origin. It's a private, unnamed military contractor that had been conducting exercises to try its new airborne hardware. So every single person that went on social media to scare you was using your fear so they can make a buck off of you. I'm just giving you a heads up. That's what they did. They made a buck spreading fear and panic amongst those of you who were afraid. In the same manner, they did the same bull nonsense when they went telling you that, well, in September, we're going to have the rapture. What happened? Oh, we messed up. The prophet said, we messed up. It's not in September, it's in October. And what happened? No rapture. Now they've changed it again to 20 to 26. And here's what's so fascinating about these con men. Every time they do this, they then tell you to go to their website and they have a donation link. If you're so convinced that the rapture is going to occur, then why would you ask for donations? Come on. Come on, folks. It's a con game. People have been doing this since the first century. So, well, Breeze, it's not that I don't have an answer for your question. It's that you're not the only person here and that I'm only one person and I have multiple platforms on here and you. So get over your narcissistic personality disorder, grow up, be an adult. And if you have a question, you can ask. But there are a lot of people that I didn't get to today. And that is because I'm only one person. Now you got your attention that you needed. And now you've gotten blocked. Bye-bye. Okay. Right. No, be blessed and be blocked. You didn't answer my questions. I am so upset. I'm the only person in here. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I don't care. I really don't care about trolls. Okay. So anyway, that is the story. The violin's put up. Yeah, it's up there. But don't forget, next week, we're going to be here. We will be here. And we will have our history of Halloween. I do. I have it. I actually have it. Sometimes sometimes I'll blow it. I'll play the little Halloween. I should get a Halloween one. But for the oh yeah, you blocked it again. Oh yeah. Oh. You're not paying attention to me. I'm the only one asking questions. Isn't that a beautiful song? That's a high note. That's a high note. But nonetheless, yeah, anyway. Yes, the ring. Isn't it a nice ring? Isn't that beautiful? Are you jelly? You're jelly, aren't you? You can actually buy it for $46. It's a ghost. I'm not even playing it. Some people are like, it's a ghost. It's a ghost. Okay. For those of you listening to this on podcast, guess what we're going to say? We're going to say good night to you. Have a great night. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to wrap them up. I'm going to wrap up the presentation here very, very soon. Don't forget, we're going to be here next week. Mr. Producer, are you going to be here with us on Halloween, or are you going to be out trick-or-treating? Probably out trick-or-treating. If he's behind the scenes there. Paranormal show. Mr. Producer. Let's see. 1 second. I'm going to put this up for you guys right now. Don't forget, everybody, that we're also going to be here tonight, a little bit later on, for 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time night prayer. So maybe instead of trolling, maybe you can actually come pray for people. I know your head might spin when you do that, but just try it. just try it. It might help. It might work. So your Jelly of the Ring. Yeah, actually, yeah, you can get this. You can get it for, honestly, you can get it at Etsy. $46. There it is. $46. True. No, Halloween's not bad. Okay, excellent. Mr. Producer says he will be there. He will be there. Okay. So TikTok, hang with me, guys. Hang out with me. I'm going to close them out here, and then we'll chat with you guys for a little longer. Everybody else, okay, you'll be here. Excellent, excellent. So listen, for those of you who are watching this on all the other social media platforms, remember I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on a troll's inability or refusal to see your worth because their head is spinning like the Exorcist. Remember, you're priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Until next week, good night.